Are you seeking a better way to accelerate your sales, to scale your business, to live a life with no limits? Accelerate Sales Podcast features global experts who have cracked the code to recurring revenues with proven sales systems and get you on the fast track to scaling. Now let's accelerate your sales with today's episode.
Hi, I'm Paul Higgins, and welcome to the Accelerate Sales Podcast, episode number 437. You're going to learn lots today, but in particular, you're going to learn how to increase leads through working with your SaaS vendor, and also some brilliant tips on why you should be speaking and how to maximize it. The second is close sales earlier with asking good questions, and they go into a really good discovery process, and you're going to love that. And the third is how to pick the right verticals to play in and be careful of putting all your eggs in the one basket. If you're a first-time listener and you love, please subscribe. Who is this for? You might be wondering. It's for cloud consultants. So if you adapt SaaS and the SaaS software and turn it into great results for clients, you're in the right space. If you're a regular, I'll always love those reviews and really appreciate them. There's a summary in the app. You can get the full transcript at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast. And before we go into the interview with Omi, I'd like to thank our sponsors. The first is the Cloud Consultants Collective. So it's peers collaborating and peers talking about business, and they're all cloud consultants, and you can find out more at cloudconsultantscollective.com. It's a free group on Slack. And the second is SendSpark, which is a great video, and the guest today, Omi, talks about using video in the process, and this is a great platform. It allows you to also send a little summary at the start and then integrate a standard video into it, so you can really customize your sales. You can get 6 months free. Go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/SendSpark. So our today's guest is Omi, is a fireball who burns with perpetual positive energy and an impressive skill set. After a little Miami jet fuel, her days are full with, they're actually full with energy and full speed forward. Omi is a marketing geek and she's been in marketing for 25 years. She's owned the agency for 21, and her eclectic background gives her a unique perspective on the cultural issues and how they shape marketing communications. In 2000, she did co-found the business with her husband, Todd Cooper. So it's Diaz-Cooper. And today the agency is in its 21st year. Like I said, it's in the top 25 South Florida advertising agencies. It's been in that for 6 times, and it's a leading gold certified HubSpot partner. And Omi brings her vibrant attitude to the podium. She's fantastic, and she's going to share a lot of wisdom with you. So what I'll do now is hand you over to Omi Diaz-Cooper to absolutely wow you with her knowledge. Great to have you here, Omi.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, very excited to talk to you today. There's lots of great questions I'm going to ask you. And I know in the prep, we've already, I've just seen that you love answering them as well, which is fantastic. But why don't we kick off with who your ideal client is and what problems you solve for them?
Sure. Yeah. So my ideal client is probably a small to mid-level enterprise business, ideally in the B2B space, either technology, SaaS, or if they're in e-commerce, then like B2B e-commerce. Healthcare is another strong vertical for us. And we were very strong in travel tourism. We're still interested in working with B2B travel tourism clients. And what we do for our clients is we help them to grow their businesses. Typically, they are folks that either are moving away from a disjointed set of platforms and are moving into our preferred platform, which is HubSpot, because that is a very unified ecosystem, or they're already in HubSpot and they feel like they're not making enough, they're not getting enough out of their investment. So we help them to improve their lead gen efforts, their lead nurturing efforts, and tying those efforts directly to their business objectives.
And what do you think the split is of people that have already got HubSpot versus people you're introducing to HubSpot?
I would say it's probably 60-40. 60% are already on HubSpot and about 40 are moving into it, and we're helping them to onboard or integrate.
Yeah, great. And of the 60 that are already on HubSpot, do HubSpot themselves send you many leads, or are you self-generating most of those leads?
We get a lot of our leads from referrals. And as I love to share that we have a referral program and that we created a page on our website for people to be able to refer to us. I would recommend anyone who's a consultant do that, because then that form, right, that page tells a little bit about what makes an ideal customer for us, what they get for the referral. And then when they fill it out, it goes right into our HubSpot, system, and someone from my team can follow up on that referral. So that's a great way to get new business. HubSpot does send business our way, especially now that we've been in the ecosystem since 2016. We're about to hit platinum. We've been gold for forever. So we do get some from our CAM or from some of the direct reps. And then we do get some from our website from inbound efforts.
Yeah. Brilliant. And is there anything you do to build that relationship with the HubSpot AEs and people within HubSpot itself?
Yeah, so this is big for anyone who has like a partner program with a technology platform, is get to know your direct reps, right? Because a lot of times the direct reps have good knowledge about the platform itself, but they may not have as deep a knowledge as to how that platform can be used for a specific industry. And so by letting the direct reps know, hey, we're really well versed in technology, SaaS, healthcare, travel, tourism, right? They can come to us for, questions or, and that's when they then end up pulling you in, right? If they can't if the client wants a personalized onboarding experience, then they're more likely to refer us.
Yeah. And is there anything you do differently with the way that you onboard or do demonstrations with HubSpot or I suppose different is hard because you don't know what you're comparing it to, but what's your way of doing it? I suppose that's a better question.
Yeah. Our way is really white glove, right? We call it an engaged onboarding. And so we have found that when you work with a technology platform, there's the how to push the buttons, right? And anybody can do that. Anybody can tell you how to use the platform. But what makes us different is we help you to push the right buttons. And why would you push what button in the first place based on your business model? So we have a very deep dive getting to know the customer's business. Of course, we stay in our niches because we're already have expertise in those niches. So that makes it a little bit easier as well. But every business is different, and we make sure that we're building that growth strategy even while we're, doing an onboarding. So I think that approach makes it more personalized.
Yeah, great. And do you send any any pre-videos or any pre-work or anything? Not pre-work, that's the wrong word because you don't want them doing more work than they need to, but do you send them anything prior to actually getting on the demo with you?
You mean during the sales process or once they become a client and want to be onboarded?
During the sales process.
Oh, yeah. So during the sales process, we do go through some really deep exploratory questions during the sales process. We do send them, different articles that might make sense based on whatever pain points they've communicated to us. One of the things I love to do is if I'm sending something that's a little bit deeper, I'll send them a video email where I'll kind of like give them the highlights of what I'm sending them and why. So I try to make it easy for them, but they can go as in depth as they want, because not everybody can look at a 1 hour video during a sales process.
Yeah. That's brilliant. And you talked about niches. It depends where you are in the world,
Right?
But, tell us a bit of the journey as to how you came to deciding that was the right strategy, being more vertical focused, and how did you pick the ones that you've now supporting?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was part intentional and part circumstances. So we're a 20-year agency. So obviously we've gone through a lot in the last 21 years. And so in the beginning, early days, we basically, you take on whatever comes your way, right? So, but little by little, we really grew our expertise, particularly in travel tourism. And we loved it. For years, I would say probably anywhere between 60 and 80% of our clientele would be in travel tourism at any given time. And then 2020, right? So in the early stages of the pandemic, we lost about 65% of our revenue. The saving grace was that we always had that smaller percentage of clients that were B2B, whether it was professional services or whether it was a technology company or a healthcare company. And we had worked in some of those verticals in the past. So we very quickly pivoted and said, look, a lot of these companies, they have sales teams, they have a very physical sales process, where they were attending trade shows, or they were literally, some of them were physically knocking on doors. And we said, these folks need help digitizing and converting a lot of these sales methods into more digital means. And a lot of them are also looking at their investment in their platforms and saying, do we really need 57 different platforms to do sales and marketing? So we just kind of saw that light bulb that, HubSpot plus the circumstances made it an ideal environment for us to be able to serve, this clientele. And luckily, we were able to land almost right away several SaaS clients that were moving into HubSpot away from, Salesforce, Pardot, or Marketo, Eloqua, some of the more pricier platforms. And they saw the robustness of it, but also the beauty of having a platform where you can connect the entire customer journey, from first awareness through the sales process, through all the marketing steps, through the sales process, to becoming a customer and then delighting that customer, all in one platform.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And the team, I know that you lost 65% of your revenue, but were you able to still maintain the team?
Luckily, we were. It took some doing, and some of us had to tighten our belts, but we all did it together. I would never ask my team to do something that I wouldn't do myself. So yeah, we made it through. We did not have to have any layoffs, thank goodness.
Right.
We did have later on, one or two people that kind of decided they wanted to move in a whole different direction and not be in marketing anymore. Another one decided that they wanted to be in-house, but that was basically it. And our team has grown exponentially since then. So it's, thank goodness for the EIDL loans, for, the PPP loan that did help tremendously. And then the EIDL that we did receive is basically sitting as a credit line right now. So, but we have it there just in case. So we always want to be prepared to make sure we have runway.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think now, because you've got those multiple niches or niches, so not putting all your eggs in the one niche
basket.
Now.
Yeah. But there's still a commonality to the verticals, in that they're usually high ticket items. These are not cheap trinket folks. They're not selling cheap trinkets. Yes. They're usually a considered purchase path, right? It's a path where people have to do some research before they decide. And so we say high touch, high ticket items, they do have that commonality.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I know that that's what we do, right, as cloud consultants. You're listening to Omi saying, yep, that's what I do. So what are some of the things that you do for your clients around helping to close sales earlier that we could apply to our business?
Yeah. So it's really important to embrace a very consultative approach to sales. right? When I first started in sales, I looked at it in a negative light. I thought, car salesman, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? But I very quickly learned and learned through really being immersed in the HubSpot ecosystem that it's really about helping people. The way that I close sales the fastest, believe it or not, is by having deeper, better exploratory calls during the sales process. I've closed more business on my second exploratory call than I ever did before. And it's because it's different, right? You don't want to start off with, me, right? My team is passionate about marketing. They don't care about that, right? It's about them. It's about what are their challenges? What are their goals? What's holding them back from reaching those goals? And can we actually serve them in creating that goal? And it doesn't matter what platform you're representing. Think of it in terms of what pain points are you solving for clients, and have those deeper exploratory calls before you jump into your pitches. And that will help you close sales faster.
Yeah. And what are some questions that are your best questions? Like what are some of the ones you've developed over these 20 years that make a difference in those discovery calls?
Yeah, definitely, developing some rapport with folks, around their role and, what they expect out of the engagement or the platform, right? So warming them up with that. And then, jumping right into, what are some of your typical challenges? If they already have the tool, how do you use it? And what are your pain points? What do you wish it could do? I love asking the magic wand question. If you had a magic wand and could change anything about either your marketing circumstance or the tool, what would that be? Because that's a really nice conversational way to get at the core of what's their pain point, what's their challenge. And of course, I always ask, what are their goals and what are the consequences of not reaching those goals? Super important.
Yeah. I think that's, you did right. And I think, a lot of the clients that, first come to me, I think when, my experience is Coca-Cola and Coca-Cola, most of your clients are existing.
Right.
But you really understood their business. Like it was, effectively, the more you understood their business, the better. And a lot of the training we had back in the early 2000s was focused around this. So I felt like the Coke company is, sort of a lot more progressed, jumped into the tech world, which is a similar model, right? They're both, franchise or franchisee type model. I thought it wasn't as progressed because there's more complexity around the product you're selling versus a can of Coke, right? A can of Coke is very easy to sell.
Right.
I think the industry to me seems to be getting better and better at that. But, people like yourself that are at the forefront of that are definitely getting it much better at it. And for you, how often are you in a competitive pitch? Like, are you normally going, you're the only agency, or are you often going up against others?
Yeah, a lot of times we are the only agency, but I would say a lot of times they're either considering and talking to other agencies. What we don't do is we don't do RFPs.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're definitely devotees of the win without pitching formula.
Yeah.
So we used to back in the day, but we don't anymore because we don't want to be a commodity and we don't want to be seen as a commodity. We want to be a partner in the growth of our client's business. And if they don't like that collaborative, consultative approach, then we're not the right fit. And it's better to find that out early than waste all your time trying to put together a proposal for someone that's not going to be happy in the end.
Yeah, great. And we'll sort of switch gears a little around, thought leadership, how you get yourself out there to be seen so that, you're the only one that's in the pitch, so to speak. Speaking, right? So tell us, you've been speaking for a long time. Tell us some of the things that you've learned now that, you wish you had learned earlier.
Well, the first thing is I wish I had gotten started speaking earlier because I didn't know how much I'd love it until I started doing it. But also, speaking opportunities, particularly if you're in an industry stage, right? If, like, I've done OMA Digital and Inbound and LeadsCon and several other, industry conferences. There's just nothing like that, like that moment when people come to you after you're, you've come off stage and they want to talk to you and ask you questions. And I love talking to people. I'm kind of a people person. So it also gives me the opportunity, if they are looking for, a consultant or a marketing agency, that that gives me a much better chance that I'd be the only one, or my company will be the only one considered, because they've met me somewhere, and I've already instantly built that rapport. And I think also with podcasts, if somebody hears you on a podcast,
yes,
and they resonate with what you have to say, then they're going to come to you, because again, they feel like they've already kind of know you, and you've already started building that trust.
Yeah. And how do you find what podcast to go on?
So sometimes I receive invitations, and then I kind of look at it, listen to it, see if it makes sense. But more often I'm like, looking and, seeing which ones, people in my circle have either been on, or, that I know that are popular. For someone that's new to getting on podcasts, I would definitely recommend just kind of Googling, like, if you're a chef, best podcast for chefs, and, reaching out to them with, what do you have to contribute? Again, I feel like trying to get on a podcast and trying to sell is a very similar process. In like, if you think of it as just, I want to get on this podcast, you're not going to be as successful as if you think of it as, how can I serve the podcast audience? What do I bring to the table that might be of interest or of help to the audience?
Yeah, look, you're dead right up. We get pitches all the time, and the ones that I'll entertain are the ones that have done a little bit of research, right? And I know they're busy, etc. But if they can say, look, I've listened to, even if they say they listen, but normally they go through the topics. This is what I recommend. You go through all the topics that they've covered, and either ask them, is there a topic that they're looking for at the moment that they would love to cover? Or I see that you haven't had this topic on. Is this topic, do you think this topic would be of value to your audience?
Right.
And once again, you're making it easier for the host, which, like you said, you're making it easier for the client to actually say yes. So, if you're out and if you're listening at the moment, you think, I'd love to be on this podcast, just go and do that. But say that you heard it here on episode 437 with Omi. So, as far as the last question is around, working with someone else in your business, right? And I know you work with Todd, your life partner, who's also your business partner. Just tell us, some of the things that you two have learned that helps the relationship, work for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So over the years, we definitely have learned, first and foremost, that we stick to our zone of genius, right? So I'm more on the relationship side, the spokesperson for the company, kind of like the big relationships. And he's more on the operational side. He's more of the person that can take a system and optimize it and make it run better and scale it. And he also oversees our finance. But he also has a very unique role, which is client in residence, which he puts himself in the shoes of our clients and asks the hard questions as a business owner that our clients would ask. So, we stick to our lanes is tip number one. And then tip number two is have a definite time off, right? Because you live in the same place. If you're remote, you probably work in the same place. So you're together 24/7. Cut off at a certain time and say no business talk after 5 or 6 or whatever. And remember to reconnect on another level, because we did fall into that trap early on in the business, and it did cause friction and kind of like, but we learned that when we did that, it really helped just make everything smoother and it's good for your brain too.
Yes,
right?
spot on. Like I actually met my wife at at Coca-Cola, and we worked together, and same thing, right? It was like, when you get home, that's it. No more,
No more.
talk about Coke. And I used to have a general rule, actually, at when we ever got together socially at work, was that you weren't allowed to talk about work, right?
Right.
And, I know they did when I sort of wasn't listening, but it was like, you really want to get to know your colleagues, right? And it's, so how often do you work with someone, or even, a client, like you said, you build that rapport up front? Like, always ask potential clients, about them, what are their interests, have they got married, they've got children, etc.
Yeah.
Because you can use that back in the conversation, like, it's much better to say, hi, I'm following up on, instead of saying I'm following up or whatever, it's like, have you XYZ been hiking this weekend or something like that, right? So,
Right.
yeah, no, I think that's really smart to do that. So what we're going to do now is go into the rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and one you've already hinted to, and get your responses. So for you, the first question is, what are some of the daily sales habits that you do to accelerate your sales?
Yeah. So definitely checking on the social media channels. We do post on LinkedIn. So we put out content, ask questions, and then following up, right? So I have sequences in HubSpot that, keep me busy following up with warm, leads, or even sometimes cold leads. And I also follow up with close lost, right? So I may have not won a particular deal, but I might follow up with them 6-8 months later just to see how they're doing. I actually did pick up a piece of business once doing that. So
fantastic. And the next one is, where do you go to find out more about how you can improve your sales?
Well, definitely, HubSpot Academy is a good resource for me. I also listen to a lot of sales podcasts. I'm probably, enrolled in about 5-6 different blogs. So, those are my most common ways to keep up.
Great. And would you be happy to share, send me those podcasts that you listen to in the blogs, and then we can put those in the links. Yeah,
absolutely.
That'd be great. Now, the next one is, your wand question. So if I could grant you one wish, or if I had a magic wand, or we had a magic wand for you, what would you like to accelerate your business?
If I had a magic wand, I think I would clone myself. Yeah. I'm kind of in the process of doing that, because I do really love the personal relationship, developing that with prospects. I feel like if I had a huge sales team, I would lose some of that. So how would I clone that so that I feel like everyone is developing that kind of relationship with prospects?
Yeah, brilliant. And the last one is, 20 years or 21 years of doing this, right? What do you know now that you wish you had have learned earlier?
Yeah, so definitely getting out there sooner, in front of audiences, speaking. Podcasts obviously weren't as big in 20 years ago, but getting out in industry conferences and things like that, versus relying on just referrals from existing clients, is one big one. And another big one would be hiring an executive assistant sooner.
Yeah.
Delegate and elevate, as EOS says.
Yeah. Well, you hit my sweet spot there. I ran a virtual assistant company for over 5 years, and to me, 3 things you must have: a computer, a phone, and a some form of assistant. So I couldn't agree with you more. Well, I know that you obviously love giving value. You're a people person, as you said, and so people can follow you on Twitter, LinkedIn. We'll have all the links there, and also we're going to have a link to a free website audit that you can get as well. So, and the website is Diaz-Cooper.com, right? So we'll have that once again in the show notes. But thanks, Omi, for coming and sharing your wisdom. Well done for being the awards, etc., that I spoke about at the start, and also, approaching a platinum member with HubSpot. I think you picked the right boat to be on in the high rising tide. So fantastic meeting you. Great to have you on, and really appreciate what you've done today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
That was a great interview with Omi, and I really loved the point around the referral partner. So I really battled not to put that in the top 3. And the other is just some tips around that shut off with working with a partner, right? And it may not be your life partner, it might be your just partner in general, that you got to have some downtime in the relationship when you work so close together. Share what you learn out of this on LinkedIn at Mention Omi. And thank her for sharing her wisdom. All the summary links are going to be in what you're listening to now, and there'll be the full transcript and links at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast. Why not share? If you've really enjoyed this, why not share it with other people? I think you're an absolute rock star. Check out our solo shows. Don't forget that free Cloud Consultants Collective at cloudconsultantscollective.com. It's on Slack. And if you love curated content that is specifically for you as a cloud consultant, just sign up to our newsletter at paulhigginsmentoring.com/newsletter. And next week's guest is Antone Marsden, and he's going to demystify why the traditional top of funnel activities may be causing you and your business harm. As always, please take action to accelerate your sales.
I'm fired up after today's episode. What about you? But hey, before you go, learning is just one piece of the puzzle. Now it's time to put today's strategy into action. Head over now to today's show page at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast and share how you'll put it into action. Be sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review the show. Tell me what your favorite episode is. And don't wait 1 minute more to gain access to your pulse check at paulhigginsmentoring.com. This could be the difference between struggling to get more leads and making this next quarter your best one yet.